Hey y'all, insight number 2, we're looking at Isaiah 3, 16 to 26 and Isaiah 4, verses 4 to 6. Now also, when you're reading Isaiah, if you want to have some tips, go look at insight number 1. Also, there will be a problem, you usually see, and they might not be in the same chapter, because remember chapters happened later when the Bible was put together. Isaiah literally wrote one big long thing. So there'll be a problem, a consequence, and then a cure, if you want to call it those things. But there'll be an issue, the result of that issue, and the solution to that issue. You can call it that too. But that's what you'll often find as you read through Isaiah, and in this particular instance you will see that. So let's look at some of these verses and think about, because we're going to think about, make it relevant to our day. How is it relevant to our day? Are the evils of Isaiah's day the same as in our day? And think about it when you read these, because if you read these verses, these are often known as the tinkling woman verses, or the harlots of Israel or Zion, and it can be interpreted in a lot of different ways, and I think a lot of people take it too literally. It is just showing about excess and stuff. So let's have a look anyway. Ponder the symbols too, the actual symbols. So verse 16 says, "Moreover the Lord saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty, and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet," which is why it's called the tinkling woman verses. And it goes on to say about the tinkling ornaments and their, all their bits that they have, and the fancy things, and all the bits, all the things. And it's overcompensating by wearing excess. And, there are people that do that today, not just women, just people that overcompensate for lack of self-esteem, or lack of good parenting, or lack of whatever, and they just go worldly and dress in whatever. And don't think because you're not doing that you're better than them either. You're not. It's just a way of being inside that illuminates to the outside. So, but it lists a whole lot of things that, if you put it all on, it would look like a little girl playing dress up with all the pieces, right? But in verse 24, "And it shall come to pass that instead of a sweet smell there shall be a stink, and instead of a girdle a rent, and instead of a well set hair, baldness, and instead of a stomacher a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty." And it just means that, all these things that you rely on in the world to complete your self-worth will come to nothing. Your self-worth needs to be valued in here. And you are born with your self-worth. You just need to realize it and tap into it. So that's what he's really talking about. And that, you can compensate for, and it's not vanity. See, some people think it's vanity, like, I don't wear any jewelry, and I don't get my hair done, and, I make sure that my clothes don't look good. It's like, well, no, because you need to take good appearance, yes, I get my hair done, but I don't, have it floofed up all the time. And, yeah, I do have jewelry that tinkles, but my self-worth isn't centered in that. I love that, and each one of those charms has been bought for me for a birthday or Christmas from someone I love, so yeah, it inspires and uplifts me for the right reasons, but my self-worth is not centered there. My self-worth is centered in me, and knowing my abilities, and having a relationship with Christ, knowing who I am, what I can do, what I'm capable of doing, and learning as I go. And some days I don't feel of much worth, and then I have to refocus on Christ and find that self-worth again. But it is never based in external factors. My self-worth is not based on how many friends I have, how popular I am on Instagram, how many people want to be like me or envy me. That is not where my self-worth is based, and that's what it's talking about. And I think for some people, that's all they know where to find it. I have one particular friend who I love very much who doesn't watch these, so I'm not going to share names or anything, but, gets Botox and lip fillers and all these things, and wears all the stuff. And she's entirely wonderful. She's such a beautiful person. Lacks that self-worth, though, inside. And then says, like, I can't find a husband. I'm, desperately looking. And she's doing that thing of trying to look young and beautiful, whereas actually if she just washed it all off and was herself, there would be plenty of guys who wanted to date her, not just get with her, which is what's happening. And it's like focusing on the wrong things, and it attracts the wrong attention. Not that that's her fault. She's learning in that process. So I just keep trying to build her up. I don't tear any of that down off her, because that is just, no, that's not good. You don't want to tear people down that already have you don't want to tell anyone down. It's just not cool. But build up the self-worth that you can see inside them. Anyway, he goes on to say in chapter 4, verses 4 to 6, which is the beautiful part. So there's an issue, there's a consequence to the issue, and here's the solution. Okay. When the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. And the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion, and upon her assemblies, a cloud and smoke by day, and the shining of flame fire by night. For upon all the glories shall be a defence. And there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covert from storm and from rain. So, often known as the tinkling woman verses, let's go over these. These illustrate vanity and excess with a focus on the world's influence instead of like the Lord's influence. Spiritual worth, personal worth is tied up in the things of the world, so much so that it becomes a bondage. It's compensating for lack of true self-worth and results in unhappy endings, because you're never going to find true self-worth in stuff. Yeah. But Christ comes and he'll wash this away. If you turn to him, he's going to wash all of that away and make it good again. He will show you your self-worth. He will show you your true self-worth. And he'll be that refuge from the heat, a shadow to like just have some rest in, some peace, only that he can bring, and that the following of him can bring. So, like, there's the issue, there's this, like, problem from the issue, and there's the solution that you'll see. So look at the symbolism, because it doesn't generally mean that those women are going to be dressed exactly like that, or that the men will be, because in our day and age, men dress just as excessively sometimes. And it doesn't even need to be that they dress excessively, but, it'll have to be that label, and it'll have to have that look. And I can't leave the house until I've spent, and my hair looks just perfect, because that's where the self-worth is based on. And again, we don't tear that down, but we instead can build up their true self-worth, and that will help them find it themselves. But are the evils of Isaiah's day the same as now? Yes, they are. They sure are. They might look different, but it's the same issue around self-worth, around valuing the world more than Christ. It's the same things. It just looks different and comes in different forms. In fact, it's probably worse now, because we're bombarded with filters and images and all sorts of things. By the way, this is me. I got nothing to fix there. I just floofy hair and wrinkly face, and I don't care, I am me. That's what I look like. You'll recognize me when you see me outside in regular life, because I still look like this. I might not look like this when I first wake up, but I still look like this. So you get the point, hopefully. Anyway, Brigham Young said, why should we worry about what others think of us? Do we have more confidence in their opinions than our own? And that I really like, because it's a very Brigham Young thing to say, isn't it? Just, why should we worry about what others think of us? Why do we have more, do we have more confidence in their opinions than we do of our own? Have confidence in yourself. Have that self-worth. Find it in Christ. You will. You definitely will. There you go. So there's some thoughts there. All right. Hang around. We're going to talk about Isaiah's dream that he has with the hot coal that I talked about in the first one. I'll see you there.